classroom, just say something. And if anyone else is in the chat and you notice that I've missed somebody chatting, oh, hey. Oh, that was, I didn't know what that was. If I missed somebody chatting, somebody speak up and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, there's that. All right, so Maya, 2023. Yay. All right. So I'm going to set up my project. Okay. I on this machine, I didn't have my project set up. So I'm going to click new. And I'm going to do bparks_alien. You got it? Wow. I'm not moving again. Thank you. I set up. I'm going to put this on my desktop. Accept. I'm going to take my model. My project directory is here on my desktop. I'm going to go to my scenes, drag and drop it in, and go back to my 2023. And I'm going to do that file, create reference. It should show up right there. Don't go searching for it. Double click it. It's going to turn your screen black because it's huge in comparison to your screen. So there it is, right? If I hit F, it will focus on the selected object, or if I hit A, it'll focus on everything in the scene, right? Okay, so this is a big guy, right? That's fine, okay? What I'm going to do here to start is I'm going to select all of the objects, and I'm going to group it, and I'm just going to create a geo group, okay? We're ultimately going to be doing that anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way. geo_grp. Now, I'm going to grab the book, which is right here. Again, the last one went to about page 50, give or take. This one is similar to the end on page 51. It's that small of a thing, right? The end of that chapter on page 51 is what we're doing here, right? So, and it has really good directions or information anyway in the assignment sheet itself, right? The assignment sheet is listed in the instructions, but it's also attached, right? And basically what it says is create a My Project directory, complete the assignment, name your groups, name the objects in the scene, which is already named. Use an orient constraint to allow the eyelid to move with the eye, and use an aim constraint to allow an animator to animate the eye using the controller, right? So we're going to use two different types of constraints. The controller should move the eye, and the eye should control the eyelid based on constraints, right? So I already talked about a constraint when it came to the controls for the toothbrush. Right, so I'm going to create a NURBS primitive circle. I'm going to scale it up because, again, this character is huge. And what we want to do, I'll go ahead and name this main_CTRL. And I'll go ahead and modify freeze transformations, and I'll delete history because I've created this curve and it has a make NURB circle node. So I want to delete my history because I don't need it anymore. I'm happy with this controller as it is. Now, as I said, the eye is going to control the eyelids, right? And if I activate wireframe on shaded, you can see the geometry here, right? And these are all separate pieces, right? So what I need to do here is I need to, when I have the eyeball rotate, I want the pupil and the eyelids to move with it, right? So as I said 2 days ago, or even yesterday in the video, right? When you're doing a constraint, you select the controlling object first and then shift click what it's controlling, right? In a standard parent-child hierarchy, if I create two objects here and just move them out, right? If I have a parent and a child, right? If I do a standard parent-child hierarchy where I select the child, shift-click the parent, and hit P, right? You'll notice that it puts the cone under the cylinder. This is a hierarchical structure. One thing controls the next. Yes? Did we what? No, I'm just demonstrating the hierarchy. Yeah. So if I select the cylinder, the cone goes with it. If I move the cone can move on its own, but no matter where the cone is, if I move the cylinder like a parent to a child, the child will go with the parent, right? If I rotate the parent, the child rotates in relation to it, right? This is a hierarchical structure. We're not doing hierarchy, we're doing constraints. Hello, giant face. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the difference here, right? In a hierarchical parent-child relationship, I select the child and then shift select the parent and hit P. In a constraint relationship, I do the opposite. I select the controller and then what's being controlled. In this case, the controlling object is the iris or the white of the eye. If I said that wrong, I don't know if it's iris, it might be sclera, I forget. The white of the eye. The white of the eye is going to control the pupil. It's going to control the upper and lower eyelid, right? So, but it's not going to be done through hierarchy. It's going to be done through constraints, okay? So I'm going to go to my rigging menu set, which gives me access to the constraint menu, which is what we did yesterday or the other day. What? Are y'all talking to each other or me? Okay. All right. So I'm simply tearing off this menu by clicking on the little dotted line at the top, right? Okay. So here's all the constraints. I have parent, which is similar to what we were just talking about. Point, I'll get to that later. Orient, which deals with rotation. Scale, which deals with scale. Aim, we'll get to that later. And then these other two, which we don't even need to worry about right now, right? Okay. So what I'm going to be doing here is a parent constraint. If I open up the options, again, I showed this the other day or yesterday. If I open up the options for the parent constraint, you'll notice it has translate and rotate. I can limit this to specific axes or I can do all, right? I can also determine, like, am I doing full control or am I doing partial control, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the controlling object, which is the white of the eye, shift select the eyelid, and click parent. Now, I'm going to pull up the options box again. There's one more thing I want to make sure of when I'm doing this. I want to make sure that maintain offset is turned on. Okay? If I do maintain offset, the controlled object is going to stay where it is when the constraint is created. If I turn that off, it's going to move to where the parent is, right? Okay. So I want to make sure when I'm doing my constraint, in this case, if I want my eyelid to stay where it is, I want to make sure that maintain offset is turned on. It is on by default, but I always check it because there are times when I might not have it on, and it always remembers your last setting, right? So if you find that the object that you're wanting to have controlled moves when you apply your constraint, you want to go back, undo it, and make sure that maintain offset is turned on. Okay. So again, I'm going to select the white, shift select the eyelid, make sure maintain offset is turned on, and click apply. Right. So once I do that, if I rotate the white of the eye by itself, the eyelid goes with it. Right. I don't want to shift select both because then I get this kind of thing that Shanissa was just doing, because I saw that. Right. Okay. So you don't want to rotate both. When you're testing it, you only rotate the white of the eye and it should move perfectly. Okay. So, and you'll notice that when I select the eyelid, translate and rotate are all with this little blue marker. That means that it's being controlled by a constraint. Okay. So, and if you mouse over it, it even tells you 0 constrained, right? This one says -8898 constrained. It's constrained, right? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for the other objects. I'm going to select the white, shift select the lower lid, and in my parent constraint, hit apply. I'm going to select the white, shift select the pupil, and apply, right? Once I'm done, when I select the white, all 3 should follow. Dun, 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 dun. Right? Okay. Checking my chat. Everything's clear. Okay. Now what I want to do, I'm going to duplicate. I don't have to duplicate. I can create a clean one, but I'm going to Control D to duplicate my main controller. And I'm just going to pull this up, rotate it. This is going to be my eye controller. So I'm going to 90 degree, 90. To duplicate it. Control D. And I'm going to scale this down. I'm going to pull it out a little bit just to kind of like get it a little bit farther away from the character. All right, so this is going to be my eye controller. I'm going to scale it up just a little bit. And for the sake of having it perfectly centered, I'm going to go into my side camera, which is the front view in this case for my character. And I'm going to line this up just perfectly because I'm anal like that, right? Okay. So there's my controller perfectly in front of the eye. I'm going to rename it because when you duplicate, it takes the name and it adds a 1 to it. So I'm going to call this EYE capital CONTROL. Eye control. Okay. Eye control underscore CTRL. So you can see that right there. Just getting that. It's going to be like that, right? Again, every first word is lowercase. Every attached word has the first letter capitalized, and then you have an underscore and what it is. This is a control, right? So this is the eye control. It's a little redundant, but it is. Okay. Now, this is going to control the rotation of the white only, right? Because the white controls the rotation of all the other objects, right? So if I have this control the rotation of that, then the rest will follow. But this is not going to be an orient constraint. An orient constraint, as I said, controls rotation, but it controls it directly. What I want to do is I want to have this eyeball look at this controller every step of the way, right? So again, this is my controller, and this is what's being controlled. How I get this to look at the controller is with an aim constraint. Okay? If I select the controller, shift select the white eyeball by itself, go into my aim, go to my options. This, by default, does not have maintain offset activated. I want to activate that to keep my eyeball rotated exactly where it is. And again, you have access to activating on only certain axes and things like that. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply click add. And what happens is when I select my controller and I move it around, the eyeball looks at it every step of the way. Pretty cool. I forgot to freeze my transformations on my control. So I'm going to modify freeze transformations. And there we go. Okay. So there's that, right? Again, if I don't maintain offset, there's a possibility that you might see it shift, right? So you want to make sure that that's on. Now, there's going to be a little tiny issue that I'll fix here in a minute. Now what I want to do, similar to my toothbrush, I want to use my main controller to control the movement of my character, the movement of the character to control the movement of the eyeball, and all that stuff. So, if you remember from the toothbrush, I'm going to do the exact same setup I did for the toothbrush geometry. I'm going to have my main controller control click the geo group, and I'm going to do a parent constraint. And again, make sure maintain offset, all translate, all rotate. I'm going to click add, and now this will move. You'll notice that it keeps looking at the controller, right? It will rotate, but there's a little bit of an issue with the eyeball in that instance. We'll deal with that here in a minute. And it won't scale, right? Because that's a separate constraint. We dealt with that in the toothbrush. So I'm going to select again in order to get my scale constraint. I'm going to select my main controller, control click my geo group, and do a scale constraint. Again, I want to make sure maintain offset is on because I don't want it to change size when I activate the constraint. It probably won't at this point, but that's okay. I'm just making sure. I click add, and now it moves, it rotates, and the character scales. And the eye still looks at the controller. Well, how do I get the controller to move with it? Yes. What? I can't hear you. You have to turn around. I can't hear you.
What things did you parent for?
What did I parent? I parent constrained the controller to the geo group. Yeah, it's recording. All right. So the controller, the eye control, needs to follow the main control. In this case, I want to do a standard parent, not a constraint. Okay, so I'm going to select my main control, shift select my eye control, and do parent, constrain parent, right? And again, this is found under the constrain menu, parent right there, right? So when I move the main controller, the eye control moves with it. When I rotate the main controller, the eye controller moves with it. But you'll notice that the eyeball is rotating strangely, right? I'll fix that here in a minute, right? But I wanted to show you that problem, right? Okay. So when I scale the main controller, the eye controller does not scale. Okay. Because it is simply, wait a minute. Oh, you know what? I did that wrong. I'm sorry. I created a parent constraint. I thought I was doing I was thinking a standard parent, but I created a constraint. Okay, I apologize. This controller should not be constrained to the main controller. It should be actually parented to it. I said standard and then I did a constraint. In order to fix that, all I have to do is select the constraint in the outliner and delete it. Okay. I created a parent constraint on the eye controller to the main control. I didn't mean to do that. Huh? Chain? This circle? Yeah, the little circle here. Oh, you mean this? Yeah, the parent. Yeah. I never noticed it looked like a chain. So yeah, whenever you create a constraint, you get these constraint nodes in the outliner. Yeah, the eye control parent constraint, we're gonna delete that. I said one thing, I did another, and I apologize for that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to do standard parenting, which is select the child, shift select the parent, and hit P, right? So this is a hierarchical relationship. Wherever the parent goes, the child will follow, but the child can also move on its own. The controller, the main controller is the parent. The eye controller is the child. So now in a parent-child relationship, I can move it, it'll move with it. I can rotate it, it'll rotate with it. I can also scale it, and it will scale with it, right? Okay, so in a standard parent-child hierarchy, scale is included. You don't have to do a scale constraint, okay? So this is actually starting to work out. Now, what I want to deal with now is I want to deal with this issue, right? So in doing this previously, I found that rotate, I think it was rotate X. Was the culprit, was the problem. Okay, rotate X in the parent constraint, or excuse me, in the aim constraint, right? So what I can do here is if I deactivate rotate X's constraint capability, it should fix the problem, right? So I'm going to select the eyeball. I'm not positive this is going to work. If you're doing this step by step, don't do this just yet. I want to make sure it works before I do this, right? But I think this is the culprit, if I remember correctly. This isn't in the book. This is why I'm doing this from memory, right? So if I right-click rotate X and I break connection, that will kill the constraint for that attribute only. And then when I rotate the main controller, you'll see that the eye follows properly. So I was correct. So if you are following along step by step, select the white, right click rotate X, and go to break connection on rotate X. Okay. The other two, rotate Y and Z, are still being controlled, right? I can still get everything I need out of rotate Y and Z. Yes, right click, break connections. And so if I look at the options for the aim constraint, right, I could have set this up initially by creating the aim constraint on only Y and Z, right? I could have just activated Y and Z, and it would have had the same result as what I have here, right? But I wanted to show you that problem so that I could show you how to fix that problem, right? I like to show you guys where the issues are so that you know how to fix them when you come across them. These are the things that I've seen over the years that are common problems that people come across, right? Okay. So this is all the control that I need, right? My character moves, he rotates, he scales, and this still works every single step of the way, right? Okay. All I have to do is finish my hierarchy and lock down my controls, right? So I have my main control. I'm going to create my controls group. And again, this is exactly the same way we did the toothbrush, right? So I hit Control G to create my group. I name it controls_GRP. I take both my controls group and my geo group, and I group those. And I name that my alien_GRP. This is my main character group, right? All my geometry should not be able to be selected. So again, I select all my geometry. I create a layer. This is exactly like we did before. And this is my geo layer. I'm going to switch this over to reference so that it's not selectable. There's that. And the attributes that I need access to on my controls, my main control should be able to do everything, right? Move, rotate, scale, and if you want visibility, off and on, like that, right? Okay. Huh? I'm doing what we're doing after the layer. We haven't done it yet. Okay. So we're locking down our controls. Okay. Our main control is going to have everything. I need to freeze transformations on this though. So I'm going to modify freeze transformations. I didn't do that, right? Make sure you freeze transformations. You shouldn't see any translate information on your controls. What were you doing? Were you? Okay. Well, if it comes up with a problem, let me know. But if it's working, then we're fine. We test it. But I have 3 minutes and I need to finish the last 2 sentences that I need to get out. So give me a second. All right. Again, I'm here till 7 p.m. So plenty of time to go over issues. For the eye control, all I need is translate. I don't need rotate. I don't need scale. I don't need visibility, right? So I'm going to highlight rotate, scale, and visibility. Right click, lock and hide selected. I'm going to save. I haven't saved once. I'm a bad person. Alien setup _01. And I'm going to save again and create my final and we're done. That's everything. So again, just to go over the assignment sheet for those that are in class, I'm going to give this out to you. But, oops. There it is. Oh, I was trying to do zoom in. There it is. Rig the alien's eye using a name constraint. Learn about the other constraints used in Maya. Read the introduction of the book, pages 51 to 52. Follow the lecture in the class. Create a Maya project directory and complete the assignment. Name your groups and name the objects in the scene. Use an orient constraint to allow the eyelid to move with the eye. Use an aim constraint to allow an animator to animate the eye using the controller. When you're done, the controller should move the eye, and the eye should control the eyelid based on constraints and not hierarchy. Place the geo in its proper place in the hierarchy we created. Name your controls, turning in your project directory with the scene file in the scenes folder. Grading on this, this is a little bit different. So I'm going to go by the rubric. I missed fixing that. So if I go to the rubric, setup works properly, can be animated for 6. Groups and controls are named. All the objects in the scene are named for 3. 1 Maya project directory, all the scene files are named with the student name and the name of the assignment for 3. Ask and answer questions and critique, participate in class for 3. All right, so 15 total points for this assignment. And that's everything. With all the junk we went through, I got through it. Yay. So here's the assignment sheets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take one, pass them down. Let me give you one for Jamie. Yeah. I'm so sorry for Kay doing what he did. And again, this is on pages 51 to 52, give or take, right? When it comes to constraints and setting that stuff up, that stuff's in there. I added the controls and the eye rotational fix myself, right? And as soon as this video is done processing, I'll stop the recording real quick. I will get that posted